What if the most famous apple in the world was just a piece of fruit? Imagine a world where the word apple conjures up nothing more than a healthy snack, and not a revolution in technology, design, and culture. What if the iconic bite was never taken, and the story of innovation that shaped our digital lives never began? Imagine a reality where Steve Jobs never co-founded Apple Computer in his parents' garage. The legendary garage, often romanticized as the birthplace of modern tech, would have remained just another suburban storage space. The spark that ignited Silicon Valley's creative explosion might never have caught fire. Without his relentless drive and vision, the landscape of modern life would be unrecognizable. The seamless integration of technology into our daily routines, the expectation that devices should be both beautiful and intuitive, might never have become the norm. The devices we use, the music we hear, and even the films we watch would have evolved more slowly, with less elegance. The idea of carrying thousands of songs in your pocket or streaming movies on a sleek tablet could have remained science fiction for years longer. Jobs didn't just sell products, he created tools to empower people and change the world. His presentations weren't just launches, they were cultural moments that inspired millions to dream bigger and demand more from technology. Remove him, and you remove the catalyst for human-centric design and technology. The focus on simplicity, elegance, and user experience might have been lost in a sea of technical jargon and clunky interfaces. Without Jobs, computers might have stayed complicated, intimidating, and inaccessible to most. The idea of technology as a friendly companion rather than a confusing tool may never have taken root. The graphical user interface, the mouse, the all-in-one desktop, none were inevitable. Jobs championed them. He pushed for innovation that made technology approachable, and his influence set the standard for the entire industry. Let's explore this parallel universe where Steve Jobs is not synonymous with Apple, and see how personal computing, music, and smartphones might have stagnated. Imagine a world where innovation is slower, and the digital revolution is missing its most passionate architect. By understanding what might have been lost, we can better appreciate the profound legacy of Jobs and the company he built. His vision didn't just change Apple. It changed the way we live, work, and connect with each other, leaving a mark on history that's impossible to ignore. In a world without Apple, personal computers would have remained tools for specialists far longer. The shift from cryptic command lines to user-friendly interfaces would have been delayed. Jobs' push for the Macintosh made computers approachable, beautiful, and desirable. Without the iMac's bold design, we might still be surrounded by dull beige boxes. The idea of a computer that just works would have taken years to catch on. The seamless integration of hardware and software, Apple's hallmark, would be missing. Technology would have stayed a frustrating chore for millions. Even the language we use, desktop, folders, trash, was popularized by Apple. Without Apple's high bar for user-friendliness, innovation and user experience would have lagged. We'd have powerful machines, but the bridge between human and computer would be rickety, slowing digital literacy for a generation. Before the iPod, digital music was chaotic, piracy rampant, devices clunky, and legal options scarce. Music lovers faced a confusing landscape, juggling stacks of burned CDs, unreliable file-sharing programs, and MP3 players that were anything but user-friendly. Each device had its own software, its own quirks, and often its own set of problems. For many, simply listening to their favorite songs on the go was a frustrating patchwork experience. The iPod, with its simple interface and iTunes store, brought order and accessibility. Suddenly, music libraries could be organized with a click, and finding new songs was as easy as browsing a digital shelf. Apple's seamless integration of hardware and software made the process intuitive, even for those who weren't tech-savvy. For the first time, buying music legally was easy and affordable. The iTunes Store offered a vast selection, letting people purchase just the tracks they wanted, rather than entire albums. This shift empowered listeners and gave artists a new way to reach fans. Without Apple, the music industry's digital transition would have been slower and messier. Record labels struggled to adapt, and many resisted change, clinging to old business models as piracy soared. Competing incompatible devices in stores would have confused consumers. Each brand pushed its own format, making it nearly impossible to build a unified music collection. The idea of 1,000 songs in your pocket captured imaginations and shifted focus to user experience. Suddenly, music wasn't just portable, it was personal, curated, and always within reach. The iPod's cultural impact was immense. white earbuds became a symbol of personal soundtracks. They signaled a new era where music was not just background noise but a defining part of daily life and identity. Music became more portable and personal than ever. People could soundtrack their lives, whether running, commuting, or hanging out with friends, all with a device that fit in their pocket. Without this, we might have clung to CDs and fragmented digital solutions for years. The convenience and simplicity of the iPod made physical media feel instantly outdated. The digital music revolution would have happened, but without Jobs' vision, it would have been a discordant affair. The landscape would have remained fractured, with no clear path forward for listeners or artists. Apple orchestrated a harmonious symphony of hardware, software, and content, forever changing how we experience music. The iPhone's 2007 launch was the true start of the 21st century for many. Before it, smartphones were clunky, limited, and mostly for email. Jobs' iPhone combined a phone, iPod, and internet device in one, with a magical multi-touch interface. Without it, mobile phones would have evolved incrementally, better BlackBerries, not pocket computers. The App Store unleashed a wave of creativity and a new digital economy. Without a centralized app marketplace, mobile software would be fragmented and risky. The vibrant app ecosystem we rely on would not exist. The iPhone forced the industry to innovate. Without it, we'd still use phones with keyboards and styluses. The concept of a smartphone would be far less capable and integrated. The pocket-sized portal to the digital world would have remained a distant dream. Before the iPad, tablets were heavy, clunky, and niche. Apple reimagined the tablet as a larger, intuitive, touch-based device for everyone. The iPad's success created a new market overnight, legitimizing the form factor. Without it, tablets would have remained failed experiments, with little incentive for innovation. The iPad spurred competitors in a creative explosion of apps for larger screens. Digital magazines, immersive games, and productivity tools flourished. Without a popular platform, this creative boom wouldn't have happened. Our digital content would be stuck on small phones or formal laptops. The relaxed, lean-back computing experience would be missing. The iPad became a staple in homes, schools, and businesses, a reality absent in this alternate world. The idea of a tablet for everyone would have been left untouched. If Jobs never co-founded Apple, his restless energy would have found another outlet. He might have transformed Atari into a home entertainment giant, or become a visionary investor shaping many companies. His influence would be spread across Silicon Valley, not concentrated in one company. Jobs' passion for animation could have led him to dedicate his life to Pixar, revolutionizing digital storytelling. Whatever the path, he would have challenged the status quo and pushed for excellence. The world would still feel his impact, but the legacy would be different. Instead of Apple products everywhere, we might have a different leading console, a blockbuster animation studio, or a series of innovative startups. Jobs' fingerprints would be everywhere, but less visible. Jobs and Apple reshaped our cultural expectations of design. He democratized good design, making everyday objects beautiful and enjoyable. The Apple Store reinvented retail, focusing on experience over sales, a model now widely imitated. Apple became a symbol of creativity and individuality, setting the gold standard for branding. Without Apple, branding might have remained superficial, focused on logos, not emotional connection. Apple's design ethos influenced software and web design, sparking a trend toward minimalism and intuitive interfaces. Without this, our digital spaces might be cluttered and chaotic. Jobs established the norm that technology should be both intuitive and beautiful. Without Apple, Microsoft's dominance in personal computing would have been nearly absolute. Innovation in user interface and design would have lagged, with less pressure to improve. The mobile market would be led by Nokia and BlackBerry, evolving slowly with incremental changes. The idea of a phone without a keyboard would have seemed absurd. In music, Sony might have tried to unify digital music, but without Apple's seamless integration, the market would be fragmented. Consumer electronics would focus on features, not user experience or ecosystem. The vision of devices working together seamlessly would be missing. We'd live in a fragmented digital world, juggling incompatible devices and services. Imagine a world without Steve Jobs, a world where Apple never became the beacon of innovation and design it is today. In this alternate reality, technology feels rough around the edges. Devices are functional, but lack the polish and seamless integration we now take for granted. Using technology becomes a chore, not a joy. The sense of wonder and delight that Jobs brought to our digital lives is missing. The digital revolution would still unfold, but it would be slower, less inspired, and more fragmented. Everyday interactions with gadgets would be more complicated, intimidating, and often frustrating. Manuals would be thicker, interfaces less intuitive, and the learning curve much steeper. Devices would be clunky, uninspired, and visually unappealing, far from the sleek, beautiful tools we expect today. Jobs' relentless pursuit of simplicity and elegance made technology accessible, even magical, for everyone. Without his vision, we'd be lost in a maze of complex menus, cryptic settings, and endless troubleshooting. The pace of change in industries like phones, music, and media would crawl forward rather than leap. New products would arrive slowly, and innovation would feel incremental, not revolutionary. Jobs was more than a CEO, he was a catalyst, accelerating the future and inspiring entire industries to dream bigger. Without him, progress would be delayed and the world would feel just a little behind. His absence would leave a void at the intersection of technology and humanity, a missing spark where creativity meets utility. Jobs was the ultimate editor and conductor, orchestrating seamless experiences that felt almost effortless. Without his guiding hand, the world would be less elegant, less considered, and far less inspiring. In the end, a world without Jobs would be a world with less magic, less excitement, and fewer moments of awe.